In this video, we'll be taking apart the AGM G3 Pro. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified once I upload a new video. Also, if you need any tools, there are links in the description. Before we start, we'll need to remove the SIM tray. Now, heat needs to be applied to the back plate using either a hairdryer or a heat gun to loosen up the adhesive underneath, and then a pry tool can be used to pry the back plate off. I prefer to use a hairdryer since there's less of a chance of damaging any of the components inside by overheating them. Here's a better look at the plastic backplate. The glass camera lens cover can be replaced by applying heat and gently prying it off. Taking a look at the other side, we can see the flex cable for the NFC antenna and wireless charging coil, as well as the flex cable for the rear torch light or camping light. There's a metal plate held down with 4 Phillips screws, which is covering the NFC antenna, wireless charging coil, as well as camping light. Here's a better look at the wireless charging coil and NFC antenna. And here's the camping light or torch light, and the metal plate and graphite film on the back acting like a heatsink. Taking a look, we can see the 64 megapixel primary camera, the 2 megapixel macro lens, as well as the 512 by 384 thermal imaging camera. At this point, there are 15 Phillips screws which need to be removed. Here's a look at the other side. There are additional antenna lines drawn on this bottom plastic cover, and the vibrator motor is located behind it. The battery cable can now be disconnected, followed by the rest of the cables. The blue and black coaxial cables can be disconnected by just popping them off. The main board is held down with 4 Phillips screws. Looking at the main board, we see a secondary microphone located on the top corner, as well as copper tape or film over the shield to help transfer heat. The SIM and memory card reader is located on the other side, as well as the proximity and ambient light sensor, and we can see the 50 megapixel front-facing camera. There is additional copper film or tape on the back shield to help transfer heat. Once the copper tape or film has been peeled back, we see thermal paste on top of the RAM and processor. Here's a better look with the thermal paste removed. There's an adhesive pouch which is holding down the battery, which can be peeled off to release it. There are two 5000 mAh batteries put together to operate as one, which total up to the 10,000 mAh. Once the battery has been removed, we can see the flex cable for the screen, which is routed through an opening in the midframe, as well as this flex cable which connects the subboard to the main board via the screen cable. So if you needed to replace the screen, you'd have to remove the back plate, the screws on the top and bottom plastic covers, and remove those covers. You would then have to disconnect the battery cable, the screen cable, as well as the subboard cable, heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry the old screen off, apply new adhesive, and reapply the new screen, making sure you run the flex cables back to the openings in the midframe, and reassemble the phone. There are 3 Phillips screws which are holding down the subboard. Looking at the subboard, we see the headphone jack and the charger port. Having a look at the other side, we can see the primary microphone. Now when it comes to this phone, if you were to accidentally insert a SIM ejector tool in the wrong hole, either on the bottom or on the top, you wouldn't damage the microphone since they are seated above the holes. However, the bottom microphone hole does have a filter seated against the frame, so you would possibly puncture or damage that filter. This flex cable is for the power button and fingerprint scanner. This one's for the volume keys on this side, and this is for the button on this side. If you need to replace either of those, you would have to remove the 3 T4 or Torx Force screws on either side, as well as the metal plates, and then you would have to use an X-Acto knife or a razor blade to cut out the cure-in-place gaskets to release the flex cables. The top earpiece speaker is also held down with the cure-in-place gasket, so in order to replace that, you would have to cut out the cure-in-place gasket to release it and remove it. As for the main camera, it's held down with some adhesive. There is a copper heat plate and a copper heat pipe which runs underneath the motherboard as well as the battery to help transfer heat, and there's thermal paste which is seated in between the copper plate and the back of the motherboard where the processor is to transfer heat away from the processor. For the repairability score on this phone, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, apply new adhesive and reapply the back cover. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.